Hi, my name's Mayanthi. I'm a qualified counsellor and this is a little video about how to embrace change. I went through quite a lot of life changes in 2022, so I wanted to share how I coped and managed with that and what a difference it has made to my life so far. So in 2022 October, I resigned from a job, I got married, I moved interstate and started a new job, all within 3 weeks. So basically what happened was, I'm based in Australia and I was living in Adelaide with my family. I was working at a university and I ended up meeting my husband through one of the dating apps. He was based in Victoria in a regional town. So we started talking at the beginning of 2021. And we decided that we wanted to pursue a relationship. So we ended up getting engaged at the end of 2021. And then we started planning our wedding for 2022. The plan was that my now husband would move to Adelaide, but turned out that it just didn't work out that way. So I then had to plan to move to Melbourne. And he was able to move to Melbourne as well from the regional town. So he started his life in Melbourne, or in the city of Melbourne, and we were planning our wedding throughout this whole time with all these changes happening for him, as well as me not exactly knowing what I would be doing. But then I decided I would have to resign from my job and look at potential job opportunities in Melbourne. So throughout the months I was able to secure a job in Melbourne. I actually applied for one which they were happy to wait for me until I moved. So that was quite lucky, and it was also going to be working at a university here in Melbourne. Even though it was going to be in a very similar role to what I was doing in Adelaide at that university there, it was still going to be a whole new job, whole new team, whole new university to get my head around. So yeah, it was something that I just had to go, well, at least I've got a job to come to. So our wedding was at the end of October in 2022. So a week before the wedding, I had my last day at my last job, which was kind of bittersweet. Everyone was really kind there, and I do miss my colleagues. But I had my last day, and then the week leading up to the wedding, it was really busy. We had lots of people at our house, and I guess I didn't really have much time to stop and think that this would be a massive life change happening within the next week. So basically a few days after we had our wedding, we then drove to Melbourne to start our lives together here in Melbourne. And that was hard for me because I was living with my family at the time, and my family included not just my parents but my sister and her 2 kids as well. So they're my nieces, and I basically was, you know, they grew up with me. I was with them since they were born, and when I was leaving they were around 6 and 8 years old, so it was quite a big change for them to not have me around every day anymore, and a big change for me as well. So it was quite a sad departure, I guess I'd say, but I knew in order to start our futures together that I needed to move here to Melbourne and just kind of start our lives together. So we drove to Melbourne, and I had a week before I started my new job. So we did a few things around the house to set things up and feel more settled in this home, because this was my husband's place and it was a bit of a bachelor pad. So I wanted to just kind of set it up where like the kitchen had all the things it needed and the rooms were more comfortable. So once I came here, that's what I did. I then also went and visited my new work. So before I started, because I hadn't actually been there in person, the interview was online as well. I went and met them in person, and it just helped with that transition into going there for the first time to actually work when it was going to be my first day. So I just felt a bit more comfortable. I'd met the people, I knew where I would be going, and that's a definite tip that I would recommend if you are starting somewhere new, is to go check the place out first, because first days can be really nerve-wracking at a new job, and it's just nice to know parts of it before you actually start, rather than feeling like everything's going to be completely new when you first go in to actually have your first day of work. So after a week of living here in Melbourne, I then started my new job. I would have to say having a job when you're moving to a new state kind of lined up is also a good idea. I know it's not always easy to get and it may not always work out, but it just helps in getting to meet new people, because you might be moving to a new place where you don't really know anyone, don't have any existing friends, and as an adult it is harder to meet people unless you join those like meetup groups and things. But having more of a closer connection with colleagues is a way in which you can make new friends. So I would definitely put a lot of effort into trying to find a job before you actually move anywhere, whether it's interstate or overseas. Another tip is making sure you're communicating. I mean, in my case, I was moving with my husband, and we had to make sure we had communicated all of our expectations and what we needed, our needs around being in a whole new place. For him, he was coming from a regional kind of country town into the city, and I was moving from interstate. So in a way, it was kind of a new start for both of us, but for him it was less new because, you know, he'd been in Melbourne before. I was actually born in Melbourne, but we moved as a family when I was like 5 years old, so I feel like it doesn't count. But I'd been back and forth to Melbourne quite a few times on little trips and things, but I wasn't sure what living here would be like. And I have to say that it just, because I'm still in Australia and I'm just in another state, it doesn't feel too different. The only difference is my direct kind of friends and family are interstate, so I can't just visit them. But having, you know, FaceTime and video calls and things like that really help with that transition as well, and just keeping in contact. And, you know, just because you move overseas or interstate, it doesn't mean you lose your whole support system. It might just mean that they're not, you know, around the corner, but it might just take a little bit more effort to keep those relationships going. So that's another kind of thing to think about, is book in phone calls with friends, phone calls with family, and have like trips planned as well. So when you do want to visit, if they're going to visit you, have those trips kind of booked or planned in the back of your mind, so you know you have something to look forward to, something's coming up. And generally it will help with coping with that transition once you've moved as well. So I hope just sharing a little bit about my personal world and how some changes happened in my life and how that helped me and how I coped with them has given you a little bit of motivation to maybe take that step in moving interstate or overseas, or even making a big kind of life change because of a partner or with a friend even, whatever it is, or with your family, and just embracing that change. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. So at least that was something that I knew that would be waiting for me when I got here.